Welcome to the Siren Cut. Today we're going to be talking about Saccharine.
Normally, I don't like horror movies, but I do like this type of horror movies where it's not the jump scare type of
Right.
movies. It did have a little tension in it. However, I was very much looking forward to this movie, mainly because movies that have a lot to do with self-esteem and so forth, it's kind of interesting where they can go with it as far as premise and so forth.
Right, their individual take on the subject.
Exactly.
It's
I
like,
mean, you had Substance with age, and you
right,
had Slanted with
race.
race, and now you have one with weight and
Right,
body image. And I like that they can take it in a certain direction,
right.
but
Yeah, it was interesting too because I'm the one who showed her the trailer about a possible film to watch, and the trailer looked pretty interesting. It's the setup of it was pretty good as far as you can tell it's a body horror type movie. Based on the trailer, it looked like they were going to go a pretty interesting way. I don't know if that's what you liked most about the film or.
I liked where it went as far as for most of the movie. I understood a lot of what they were trying to convey, especially with they had a butsudan, and a lot of the belief systems when they have the Japanese culture is to have them prey upon their ancestors and give them appeasement so
Yeah.
that they don't continue with the bad habits that they've had through their ancestry. And so they did do this. However, I don't feel like they tied it. 3/4 of the movie, I thought, okay, I got this. I understood that. But I don't think someone in who doesn't understand that culture would understand what that meant unless you're
I
familiar
think
with
that
it.
was my problem with it in general was the movie didn't seem to understand or at least know what it was wanting to do. They show that aspect like we were saying, but they
Right.
don't really explain it, right? And then they kind of key in upon her desperation, her wanting to fit in and look like the other girls kind of vibe, but they didn't really lean into that either. I mean, to me it felt like it jumped all over the place, not knowing what it wanted to be, and that was my biggest problem with the film is it was just all over the place.
And because I have an understanding of that background, it did make sense to me, but I can understand how, for people who are not familiar with it, it's not going to work.
Right.
They didn't do enough for that.
It's interesting too because the whole make sense thing. I feel like they tried to force certain things, and the whole aspect of like her story as far as how she feels about herself and everything is I think is easily identifiable by a lot of people, right? And if this was her, I mean, the setup, I mean, goes pretty far. I don't think this is out of the realm of like spoilers because some of this is actually in the trailer, right? But she discovers what the pill is, and it's okay, fairly coincidental that she just happens to work at a lab that she can actually test the pill and see what it was. But then she makes decisions that they don't make clear why she does what she does, and starts basically making her own pills, right?
Right.
Based on it. And if they would have, it's like it caught in the middle between if they had focused on the fact that this is her own like personal demon, she's feeling guilty about what she's doing with at the lab that she was at, there's the cadavers and stuff like that, and this is what's haunting her is basically her guilt. If they had focused just on that, I think that would have been actually fairly strong way to go. But that's what I mean by they didn't seem to know what to focus on, because if they had done that, there's a part in the film where, of course, her friend doesn't believe her and she doesn't see the ghostly presence that she tries to prove to her is there. And then when shit starts happening that the friend is obviously aware of, that pulls this whole thing less to her personal demon and an actual real entity. But now, to me at least, maybe I'm overthinking things. To me, it kind of pulled away from the believability that why is this cadaver haunting her in the way she is, like wanting her to eat and wanting her to do. They try to explain it a little bit, but I mean, a lot of the
The
connections
wanting
they
her to
made.
eat part, I think that's why they showed the Butsudan. And if you don't understand that aspect of it, then you're going
But
to
that's the
and
problem. They
and
didn't. They never focused on that part. So it was
they
really
don't focus on that part for the viewer that wouldn't understand that concept.
right. But they could have
And that is
explained
a
it.
mistake.
They could have
Absolutely
explained
it
it,
is a mistake.
and especially their setup. I mean, she had that best friend, right,
Mhm.
like that. So it could have been a short exposition where
Mhm.
she explains why she does the things she does, and that would allow the viewers who didn't understand what she was doing and what that is to connect that, right?
Right.
But it doesn't matter if the rest of the film they no longer connect it to the thing,
No, no, now you're seeing it as random,
Right.
as a random thing versus, if you understood this culture or the culture that they have about the Butsudan where you have to give an offering to kind of break that
Right.
bad habit,
Right. Right.
or addiction or whatever it is. Like if they have an alcohol issue, then you would put alcohol in the Butsudan in order to break that cycle in your lineage.
Right.
And because they don't explain that, and if you don't understand that, that's where a lot of people are going to lose that continuity, that understanding of what they were
And in
going
and of
through.
itself, though, would have been fine, I think, if they didn't muddy up that possible
Mhm.
connection
Mhm.
with a lot of what felt like random connections, of
Right.
like just the way she went about the decisions she chose to do, making her own pills, the way she dealt with the ghost and the presence of this entity.
Mhm.
Everything else just kind of just felt a little all over the place. And then, and then the end, without giving anything away, but and then the end felt very like they tried to lean into like, look how poetic this is. It was so telegraphed that it was like it just felt a little pretentious. I thought is the best way to put
Well,
it.
at the end, right, it felt like it's this twist in the end that the first 3 quarters of it, I'm thinking, okay, I got this, I understand.
Hmm.
But then you get the last quarter of it and you're just going, bam, bet you didn't guess this one. And I'm thinking, what was that? What was that? And that's the part that was just like, you had something, at least for me, you had something. But it just went down. No, it was not. Yeah.
A lot of these movies lately, at least, we've been comparing it to The Substance, which is a movie that was out before we started our channel, so we didn't actually review it, but neither of us liked. We thought it was overrated. So seeing this one, I mean, we always compare it. And I told her last night when we were coming back from the theater, I actually think I would watch The Substance before I watch this again.
But I liked Slanted better too.
Slanted did a
Slanted,
better job,
right?
with
So
the
I like
more of the
body horror
racial
things.
aspect. I think the nicest way of saying it is the film was fairly messy. It didn't know what it wanted to be.
That's
Overall,
the all over the place thing that
that's
I
why
think
it
that
feels all
you
over the
were
place to
going with.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the premise and the concept and so forth.
Right.
But
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of par for the course with a lot of movies nowadays that they have interesting ideas, but they don't seem to know how to get there. And I don't know if it's just the writing or if it's something's lost during editing. A lot of times that happens. They edit things out and it turns out to be it could have been actually quite important to make certain connections.
it was a fairly long movie for a horror movie.
Well, technically, I think the runtime isn't that long. I think it's one. I could be wrong. I'll double check and make a correction below if wrong. But I thought it was an hour 33.
Really?
It felt longer
It did
than
feel
that.
longer.
It felt
Yeah,
the
it did feel.
pacing is so slow through most of the film that the movie felt way longer. If you like things, you want to see something a little different. Obviously, it's not something in our area. There wasn't a wide release. We had to go 10 o'clock at night, and it was the only showing in any of the theaters near us. It was 10 o'clock at night, and even by the time this review is live,
It may be out of the theater.
yeah, it didn't look like there was any scheduled showings for next week. So, but obviously, it'll eventually come to stream. And if you were one of the few that were able to see it this weekend,
I'm kind of curious to know what you think about the movie as
right,
far as that goes
right.
because
Are we missing something? Am I missing something?
I
That's
think because of just the difference in how we perceived it because I tend to like movies that have like this weird thing.
I do too, but it's just I think I just want
But the
better
end
writing.
just fell flat. It was,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I waited for
overall.
this.
Yeah. So what would you rate it then?
Maybe a 5.5 just for effort because
Which is still not terrible. I'm still slightly above average for, your typical horror movie, for you especially, So that's not terrible. Me on the other hand, I was gonna go 3, but I think I'll go with 4. I do think it was below average, but I just thought this could have maybe done with an extra, 1 or 2 rewrites, for
maybe
consistency and flow or something.
maybe a
But
little more than 1 or 2.
well, it depends, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I think that's it really.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
See you next
All
time.
right, later.
Bye.
Bye.